How's it going, y'all? Today we're going to be doing another challenge from CyberDefenders. It's going to be a digital forensics focusing on, again, memory forensics and a little bit of disk forensics towards the end. I went ahead and ran the image info from Volatility, so we don't have to wait on that. So we can just go ahead and cat that out. We're going to copy this value, right, the profile, and we're going to export it to a variable called Volatility Profile. This way, when we want to run commands in Volatility, we don't have to type out things like the file path or the profile every single time. Right. And right now what I'm doing is telling Volatility where to find the memory dump on my file system. Alright. So to answer a lot of these beginning questions, like what's the computer name, what's the time zone, the OS build number, how many users are on the machine, what the web server package is, we can actually solve a lot of those by looking at the registry values. So we're going to go ahead and do vol hive list, and this is going to tell us all the registries as well as their offsets. And to grab things like the operating system name and the time zone, we're going to need the system registry, right? So we're going to go print key, give it the offset value, and we're just going to list it. The things that we're going to want is the control set subkeys, right? So we're going to want this guy. And to specify that, we can give it the key value, control set, and I'm going to go ahead and dig into the registry because it's going to be under control. Computer name, computer name. But if you don't know the paths through Windows registry or anything like that, you can always just do one subkey at a time, right? So now this is going to list all the subkeys under control set 1, right? But I already know the path for the computer name, so we're just going to go straight to it. And here we go. We have our computer name. Just going to go ahead and copy that, submit the flag. The time zone is going to be in the same registry as well. It's going to be under control, and then we need to do time zone information. And we see that we're in PST, Pacific Standard Time, so that's going to be UTC -7. What is the OS build number? For this, we need to list the hive list again because we need to grab a different offset. And what we're going to want is we're going to want the software, right? So let's go ahead and do print key, offset, software, and the key value should be Microsoft, Windows NT, current version. We're going to go ahead and grep for build. Current build, that's what it is. Sorry. So here's our value right here. Current build number 6001, right? And we could have just let it run out and just grab the last value because it's going to be the build number and then, you know, the release name or whatever. In this case, Longhorn. So let's go ahead and put our build number in there. How many users are on the compromised machine? So there's a couple ways that we can do this. One is in current version, we can just add profile list. And what this is going to do is this is going to print out the SID values for each user on the system, right? So these are the SIDs, right? This is going to be the administrator guest, basically the default ones. And if we wanted to get the user names instead of just the SID values, we can go and list the contents of the SAM registry. So we need to go grab that off list again, offset. And here we can grab this one, do print key again, give it the offset value, and we're going to go SAM, domains, account, users, and it should be name. I think there's an S at the end, names. It might just be name. Nope, names. And here we can see that we have 4 users. And if you're not a fan of using volatility to grab information from the registry, what you can always do as well is do a hash dump, which should provide password hashes for all the users on the system. So again, we see that we have 4 hashes returned to us. So there are 4 users. What is the web server package installed on the machine? So we can easily just list the process tree, and we'll grep for, anything HTTP, and we'll list 2 lines before and 2 lines after. And here we see the web server package, right? It's going to be XAMPP. And we can actually grab this from the registry as well. Let me just double check and make sure. Actually, it should just be under software. So vol print key. And I think the offset started with x8755. B55? Yeah. So we should just be able to list this registry and should show XAMPP. Cool. So that's going to be the web server package. And again, if you don't know what things are, just come into Google, right? All right. What is the name of the vulnerable web application? For that, we will probably need to grab the access logs. Same for these. Firewall rules using netshell command. So we can grab, they want the type parameter. So what we can do is do volatility consoles, and we're going to grep for netshell firewall set service type equals. And this should give us our answer. And here you see that they're setting the service type remote desktop. So we're just going to go ahead and copy that. And submit the flag. Cool. How many users were added by the attacker? Here we can stay in consoles, and instead of net shell, we're going to do net user. And here it looks like there was only 1 user added, but there were 4 accounts and 2 that weren't default accounts. So let's see if we can get some more information. Command line. And we know the other account is named hacker. So we're going to print out the command line information. We'll try command scan. We'll come back to that. For right now, we know that there is 1 created by the attacker. When did the attacker create the first user? This one we need to go back to the registry keys. And the offset that we need should be x77 b7. There we go. And we'll try the hacker user account. So let's see if the other one was printed before. User 1. So user 1 and hacker were created on the same day, but user 1 was created 20 seconds earlier. So we'll say that is the answer. We need UTC. And since we know when the attacker started manipulating stuff, let's look at the process tree again. And we'll see if there's anything that occurs on different dates. A lot of this information looks like it occurs the day before, so what we're going to do is we're just going to grep out the dates that we're interested in, which was 0902. And here is the command process that was ran. So let's see if we can dump this process and figure out if there are any other user accounts created, right? So we can do that with memdump. I'm going to give the process ID and the directory, right? And just to make things easier, we're going to go ahead and go strings on the dump file and output it to command.txt. So let's cat this out. Since it looks like there's a lot of web vulnerabilities, or rather this is how the attacker got in, let's try to URL encode it and see if we get any response. Plus sign. Here we go. Net user hacker. So that's the hacker creation 2. And we already know that he created user 1, so let's see if the answer is 2. Cool. What is the NT hash of the user's password? So we can do vol hash dump again. And you can see that both user 1 and hacker have the same hash, right? So we don't have to worry about which account because it's the same for both. Used command injection to add hacker to remote user groups. So we can go ahead and do cat cmd. And instead of net user, we're just going to give it the username hacker. And here you see that we have an IP address associated with net local group remote desktop users, and they're adding hacker to it, right? Another way that we could confirm the IP address is to dump the access logs, right? The log information for the web server. Then from here we can do dump files. Q will tell what offsets that we want, and it's comma delimited. Probably should have put that in a different directory to keep things cleaner, but that's okay. And we're going to strings on... Actually, we're just going to go ahead and make another directory. It's going to be easier. Move file, logs. Then we're going to go grab strings, on everything in there and output it to access.log. And then we can cat and actually let's see if we can solve another question while we're doing this, right? So user agent used for SQL injection attack tool. If you haven't done much of Hack the Box or Try Hack Me's or the OWASP Juice Shop or anything like that, you might not be so familiar with some of the attack tools. One is called SQL Map, and what this will do is automatically scan and enumerate and subsequently exploit SQL vulnerabilities in a website, right? And the default user agent header for this is going to be SQL Map, right? SQL Map / whatever version. So we can go ahead and try to see if this is in here, right? And it should be fields 12 through 16, 17. We'll try 16. We'll grep for SQL Map. Here we go. So we got that. Let's go ahead and print the first column too and see if the IP address matches up with the IP address that we found. 192.168.56.02. I mean, we already submitted the flag and know it's correct, but that's another way that we can confirm. So let's go ahead and submit the user agent. What is the name of the vulnerable web app? Let's do 4 through 6. DVWA. That's not a standard directory. So this might be our answer. Damn vulnerable web application. All right. So DVWA. So the attacker read multiple files through a local file inclusion vulnerability. One of them is related to network configuration. What is the file name? So LFI vulnerabilities, they essentially allow an attacker to retrieve files from the server side that they're not supposed to get access to, such as a network configuration file. Okay? And what we want to look for is anything that involves directory traversal, right? So anything that looks like .. notation. That's what we're on the lookout for. So let's go ahead and do want to get rid of all that. And we're going to grep for, and we'll give it 3. And there might be some protections in place. So for example, if there was like some parameter and the server had protections that would prevent an attacker from just doing simple .. slashes, we might have to look for 4 dots and 2 slashes. Or perhaps it's URL encoded and it's 25F, I believe. I honestly don't remember. But we might have to try some other things if this doesn't return anything. All right. So there's no protections on the web page. It is a damn vulnerable app. And here, this first one, the Etsy host, just like with Linux, right? So if I were to cat out Etsy hosts, this is going to be used for networking. So that's our answer. hosts. What is the first vulnerability exploited by the attacker? So I'm going to go ahead and assume it's not SQL injection since there's only 3 dots there, right? It's kind of cheating, but it's okay. So let's see if it's cross-site scripting. I don't think it's considering brute force, but it definitely looks like we have cross-site scripting going on. Let's see. Then, yeah. All right. So it looks like it's cross-site scripting. All right. Attacker used a simple command shell through a file upload. What is the URL parameter used to execute commands? So what they mean by URL parameter is we're looking for something that has question mark, the parameter name, equals, and then we need to find something like that is using system commands like echo, or maybe they're trying to list out the directory contents, or, you know, who am I, something like that. But we don't know what the parameter value is. So let's do this. We are going to look for anything that is here. It looks like it's just command cmd. That's the SQL map running. But it looks like the parameter is cmd. The attacker dropped a shellcode through SQL. Shellcode's checking for a specific version of PHP. It looks like the file that was uploaded is this, right? And they're deleting it under xampp docs temp uk udk.php or whatever. And actually, it's here in this SQL map log 2. But what's interesting is after the SQL commands and the URL encoded spots, which I think ends here at this first 0, because %20 should be a space. It looks like it's sending a bunch of hex value. So let's see if this is anything. We'll go ahead and just grab from the 3 down. We'll just grab this last A. We'll do echo. And we'll see if this gives us anything back, right? And it's uploading a file. And it's looking for PHP version 4.1.0. All right. What is the MITRE ID for the corresponding attack technique? So for this, we're looking, and they're talking about persistence, right? So we need to figure out what the ID is for local account creation persistence. Because that's what that net user command is doing. See, net user add. And we get the ID of T136 or 1136 rather, 0.001. If I can figure out how to copy and paste. All right. And then for this one, we're actually going to have to mount the targeted file system. All right. And for this, I need to go back to my notes because I don't always remember this command for whatever reason. All right. So we need to do sudo. We're going to mount ntfs. Options is read only. Then actually we need loop, read only, show file systems, show file system. Then the stream interface, it's going to be Windows, it should be offset. And actually we need to figure out what that is. And we can do that using SleuthKit. Right, so we can do MMLS, and we need the other challenge. And here we see the starting partition starts at 2048, right? So we need offset, equals 2048 by 512. And that should be all we need. Now we just need to point to the file and give it something to connect to. Right? That should be right. All right. And since we know from our previous, investigation into this, we know everything was going into XAMPP, htdocs, and then the vulnerable application name, right? That's generally where all the uploads and everything are going. So what we can do is first we need to grab that little bit of hash. We're going to copy this value. And we can go ahead and do find on desktop, mount points, Windows. We need XAMPP, and then it should be htdocs, and then dvwa. And we're looking for files, and we're going to go ahead and execute md5 sum. And we are going to go ahead and grep for anything that starts with 559411. And this should give us the full hash. Webshell.php. So there we go. Another simple challenge from CyberDefenders. It's actually a lot of fun. I really enjoy working with volatility. So hopefully you learned something. Hopefully this video helps. Thanks for watching.